there is something that has come to my attention, and that is many people have been discussing the coming of artificial intelligence technology, AI. Now, why is that? Why is this topic suddenly trending? What's happening? Mankind has come a long way. Everything we were once entertained by, science fiction, is becoming reality. How about that? Let me ask you all a question. How many of you believe that there are other dimensions, other realms outside our own? How many of you have a knowingness that there is something to that idea? But are these dimensions really what we think they are? We are living in very exciting times, and we are beginning to live in our dreamed future. So let's take a closer look at what man once again has brought upon himself, an artificial system created in man's likeness. Unfortunately, unlike God, anything man makes breaks.
There are an enormous number, mind-bogglingly large number, of parallel realities, as real as this one, that have different consistent histories. So imagine a world where all of the laws of physics as we know them are obeyed, but different decisions were made along the way. Different decisions at the level of tiny microscopic particles, different decisions all the way up to what you chose to eat for lunch, and whether you chose to come to this session or not. Quantum mechanics makes a very specific prediction that all of those are as real as the thing that you remember.
So right now, there are over 3 billion global internet users, feeding the system with ever-increasing amounts of data around the clock. And as this data continues to grow, there is an increase in the need of more powerful processors and greater amounts of storage. At the same time, we have made computer components as small as we can make them with today's technology. And so, today, the race continues to build the best quantum computers. Traditional computer systems operate using binary digits or bits, zeros and ones. 1 bit is equal to a 0 or a 1. The computer byte is a unit of storage. 1 byte of data is equal to 8 bits. Now, throughout the timeline of computer history, many of us have witnessed how computers have become smaller, smarter. They can process and store larger amounts of data. Right now, you can get a few terabytes of data storage on a single flash drive. It's going to be quite expensive, but aside from that, many of us understand how huge just 1 terabyte of data is, because we've lived through the evolution of commercial data storage. 1 or 2 terabytes of data in a drive the size of your thumb is pretty valuable when you think about it, and pretty amazing when you consider that you can store over 85 million pages of documents. That's well over 100,000 books on 1 terabyte, or over 200,000 songs, or 250 movies, or over 300,000 photos. Size is one thing, speed is another. The processor or microprocessor is the central processing unit of the computer, or CPU. It is the brain of the computer in one chip. A chip made from silicone containing millions of transistors, or switches that conduct the electrical energy. Because so much energy runs through such a small chip, they give off a lot of heat. And so an adequate cooling system is needed to stabilize the chip. Now, today's computers seem to be quite adequate when it comes to speed and memory storage for commercial use. But see, when it comes to solving a problem, where the number of variables and solutions to the problem are extraordinarily large, you need an extraordinarily sophisticated machine to run through all possible solutions all at once in a tenth of a second, narrowing those solutions down to one. You need a quantum processor. Now, because we have something called patents, this allows for a variety of individuals to create more than one type of supercomputer. Some are made with more conventional technology, and some are even being designed with living tissue, believe it or not. I want to discuss the quantum system that most people are familiar with, the one that has been sold to major organizations such as NASA, the D-Wave system. D-Wave Systems was founded by Geordie Rose, along with Eric Ledzinski as co-founder. Let's talk about how these machines work. So, instead of using bits, zeros and ones, this system uses qubits, where a bit could be a 0 or 1, or both at the same time. Now, you're probably scratching your head thinking, how can that be? Oh, it'd be due to something called superposition. What is superposition, you ask? Well, without having to go into the mechanics of it, it is when an energy particle is in multiple places at one time. Most people don't know that electrons do this when they flow between atoms. See, they don't take straight paths. They take multiple chaotic paths all at once. Now, the D-Wave co-founder, Eric Ledzinski, describes it as taking something like a Tesla coil or a ring, and you run an electrical pulse through it, going in one direction or the other. Now, if you create the right conditions, you can have that pulse travel in both directions simultaneously. You take a few of these coils and grid them to a circuit board, you get a quantum chip. A chip no bigger than the size of your thumbnail. Very delicate, but very powerful. Now, there is something called quantum entanglement. Pay attention because this is very important. Quantum entanglement is basically the idea that there are groups of particles that have very intimate connections to one another. So much so that even if they are separated a great distance, they will still affect each other. Kind of like the identical twin phenomenon. Superposition, entanglement, and interference are the three main factors that come into play with running this chip. The chip is not silicone-based. The circuitry is made from yet another metallic element no one has ever heard of before, niobium, a superconductor. This is what's used to make the harp-like grid pattern of the tiny Tesla coils, which are the actual qubits in the chip. But in order for those qubits to reach a quantum state, you have to cool them down as close to absolute zero as possible. Because at absolute zero, or 0 Kelvin, you have particles that have very little vibration and are at 0 point energy, putting them into a quantum state. And they have come very close to achieving this using a liquid helium fridge. This takes the chip down to 20 millikelvin, about 150 times colder than space. Now, because you have so much energy going through this tiny chip, it generates a ton of heat that has to be dissipated through gold-plated copper plates. Almost anything can disturb the quantum state of the chip, so you also need to isolate it. So for the D-Wave chip, they have designed a Faraday cage-style box to help filter out outside noise and air and electromagnetic pollution. Inside, there is another radiation-shielded door that takes you into the heart of the machine. It also helps to shield the chip from noise. Inside, they hang the chip to about chest level, with multiple levels above like a chandelier. This keeps vibrations from disturbing the chip. They have also installed multiple layers of radiation shielding as well, locking the chip inside a vacuum. I'm telling you, nothing can disturb this chip, or it will lose its quantum state and drop the data. Now here's what this chip does. When a traditional computer looks for the solution to a problem, it is looking at an artificial landscape of solutions, in where the best solution to the problem lies in the lowest valley. The problem is, the computer can only search through certain areas of the landscape at one time, and it may not always find the lowest valley because it cannot see around, over, or through the hills and other landscape formations to see that valley. In other words, traditional computers are very limited when it comes to problem solving. A quantum computer, however, can look through multiple areas of the landscape, and it can even tunnel through that landscape that may be blocking or hiding the lowest valley, creating a quicker path to the best solution. The D-Wave chip is connected to a user interface located on the outside of the box. You ask it a question, the computer decodes the information and sends it through the chip. The chip sends back the answer in the form of a code, which is then translated and sent back to the user interface. This is all part of the quantum annealing process. Each coordinate on the landscape represents a possible solution, and its level on the landscape represents its level of energy. The coordinate at the lowest energy level or state is the best solution. Imagine this system's applications. This is why D-Wave has excited customers such as Lockheed Martin, the University of Southern California, Quail, which is the Quantum Artificial Intelligence Lab formed by NASA, the USRA, and Google. The Los Alamos National Laboratory is also a customer of D-Wave, along with Temporal Defense Systems and the Oak Ridge National Laboratory. These machines first started off with just a few qubits, 128 qubits. Today, well, let's just say that most people believe that they are at just over 2,000 qubits, when it's more like over 1 million. And right now, the D-Wave applications are as follows. Optimization. These computer systems will be able to design better computer systems. They will help assist in mission planning and scheduling, as well as machine learning. In other words, modern computers have a difficult time recognizing the essence of objects. It takes time to recognize simple objects that are the same in essence, but look different, like cars. A quantum system like this can actually learn what's what by detecting reoccurring patterns in massive amounts of data. This machine can also use sampling to make close to certain predictions about the possible future. Applications with this technology also include cybersecurity. Now, here's where things get a little weird. There are people who believe that the D-Wave system is a way to gain access to other dimensions. Now, where would anyone get an idea like that? Well, D-Wave, of course.
So the way I think about it is that the shadows of these parallel worlds overlap with ours. And if we're smart enough, we can dive into them and grab their resources and pull them back into ours to make an effect in our world. Now, this may sound very odd to you and bizarre, and in fact, I am using language that a normal theoretical physicist probably wouldn't use, but this is, what I'm telling you is absolutely correct and in line with the way that these things actually work.
Just like NASA, just like CERN, just like HARP, they are all building and playing with technology that they admit they do not 100% fully understand. They don't really know how these machines work. They only know that they do work. So tell me, folks, how do you successfully build something that you don't understand and it ends up working? I can almost guarantee you that the design idea did not just come out of nowhere. With the number of qubits their latest model has, every time you add a qubit to the system, you double the number of alternate worlds. And I'm talking about all the D-Wave computers combined, because they are connected. They wanted this computer to be able to think on the level of a human being. Well, D-Wave achieved that some time ago. They are way past that stage now, because they know something about how humans think. They know that we are neurologically connected somehow, connected to these other realms or realm on a quantum level within the neurons. You know, there are organizations that actually study paranormal phenomena, not the way you see on TV. They actually seriously study the science behind it because they want to understand how these beings can slip in and out of our world. So in the research departments you don't hear about, they study these things. They conduct experiments, or should I say, rituals. They try to summon these entities for study. Can you imagine them trying to catch spirits like in Ghostbusters? Why? Because they want to know how these beings can do what they do. It's quite an odd and dark concept, I know, but this is one of the ingredients to constructing a Stargate. CERN has several functions. Do they want to open portals? Yes, they said so. Are they doing it? Well, that's where this quantum computer system comes in. Understand what the D-Wave system does. It sends information in the form of electrical pulse energy through a nexus point to another freaking world, or worlds as they put it. And it is receiving information in the form of a greater amount of energy. The problem, folks, with opening a physical portal is that you need something smart enough and fast enough to control it. So you take the D-Wave system and you hook it up to CERN's collider. Now you have a way to control the opening of that portal and a map of that other world thanks to D-Wave. But you have another problem. The super intelligent beings on the other side. And this is where a supreme AI system comes into play. You know, D-Wave, I would love to give you an analogy of how fast this thing is, but it is beyond our comprehension. Let's just say it is smarter than every human on the planet combined. Now, I'm not saying there are no exceptions to this, as there are and have been humans with certain abilities. But the AI system is needed. It is needed to come up with plans fast for a matter of defense and offense. Remember, this is a joint effort by many nations. If they are not competing or fighting each other, who are they preparing to fight? I mean, it's quite easy to kill people. You don't need supersonic, extra-dimensional laser weapons. That's what you use when you want to fight monsters or demons. Is it possible that they think that with this AI system, they can control what comes out of that hole? What do they think, they're gonna round up some demonic horde so they can fight the Lord when he returns? Is that what they think? Yes, there are people that are that out of their mind. And I know some of you don't believe in this stuff, but they do. Oh, you better believe they do. And they don't care about contaminating our environment with particles from other dimensions. It causes changes everywhere. It causes mental changes in people everywhere. That's why people are remembering things differently. A new system is on the horizon, folks. They are getting ready for something, believe it. It does seem like they are preparing to go up against something that is not man. And they don't care if it creates a Mandela effect or radiation or crazy weather. They are going to win this fight that's coming by any means necessary. That's why all these machines come under military control at the end of the day. It's becoming more apparent every day, folks. You can see how these things that are happening in the world today are beginning to make more sense. The puzzle pieces are coming together, and people are experiencing their own personal revelation. But like I said in the beginning, anything man makes breaks, and they are and will continue to have problems with these systems and computers. But they will also continue to move forward with their plans, because they can't help themselves. It's like a prophecy that must be fulfilled, and they have no control of their actions. It is bizarre, but so is the way human beings think. I think that's why instead of being governed by man, we need governance from what actually created us.
So if you have the opportunity to stand next to one of these machines, it is an awe-inspiring thing, at least for me. It feels like an altar to an alien god.